Hello and welcome to the Wine with Jimmy YouTube channel. My name is Jimmy Smith of the channel and I hope you're doing very, very well. So this is a video for the WSET Level 3 certificate, and this is going to be looking at the growing environment, and this is on climate classification, which will be split into two parts. This is the first part, and this is the free part, which is available on YouTube and the online portal. Part 2 will be to members only of the Wine with Jimmy e-learning portal. So that is a fabulous portal to sign up to for all your help to gain confidence for your WSET examinations, including things like flashcards, revision sessions, multiple choice questions, short written answer questions, and of course, hours upon hours of video content. If you do have any comments, questions, or concerns, please do get in touch by leaving a comment underneath this video on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe as well. And you can also get in touch via social media that you'll see at the bottom of every slide, or you can get in touch via the Wine with Jimmy website. So, climate classification, if we must. We're going to actually do two quick fire descriptions to begin with, because I think these definitions are very important for you to understand. Exceptionally, I think verbatim you should learn these and you should be able to write them out for your examination. So first of all, we'll talk about climate, and then we'll have a definition of weather. And as you can see there, a region's climate is defined as the annual pattern of temperature, sunlight, and rainfall averaged out over several years. Okay, so if you look at meteorological reports, weather reports, you will see that they often lead with temperature, sunlight hours, and rainfall in some lovely graphs and reports, and then they average those out for you. And that's actually what gives us our climatic classifications. So that's climate. And that can further be sectioned off into what we call macroclimates and microclimates for the Level 3 certificate. A macroclimate is what we will be covering in part 2. Microclimates are much smaller. So macroclimates are often over large areas like regions and alike. And then microclimates are smaller. They are like normally small districts or vineyards or villages. And of course, what brings into play different microclimatic factors are things like altitude and aspect and geology, things that we are talking about on the growing environment section. So that is your sort of climatic definition. A region, this is more of a macro climate definition on this one. So we've actually mentioned a little bit about weather as well. So let's have a description of what weather is. So a region's weather is the annual variation that happens relative to the climatic average. So that is, in fact, the weather patterns per year are what shape the climate, but they can be different, and that's very important to understand. So there are some regions that have weather patterns which are actually quite consistent and quite similar. However, there are other regions that have significant differences, certainly when there are quite large air masses that affect those regions, so it can actually change quite a lot. A great example of the annual variation really are places that are affected by things like the Gulf Stream, for instance. So Bordeaux is a good example, and that's what we're going to look at here. So I've done a little bit of a chart, a table here, to help you understand some of the differences in quite an extreme area like Bordeaux. Now, I mean extreme as in terms of weather. The weather can change quite a lot. You wouldn't call Bordeaux extreme in terms of its climatic definition, which is maritime. The climate generally is not too extreme, like a continental climate. By extreme, though, I mean the differences of weather per year. And I've given you the examples here. So we've given you two vintages, 2 years of Bordeaux. You have the year 2006 and you have the year 2003. Now, some of you who already know a bit about Bordeaux will have an understanding of this already, and you'll know about the weather patterns in these specific years. But for those of you that don't, I will just give you a little bit of an overview. The year 2006 was actually quite a cool year and had some wet spells within it. The year 2003 was a much warmer year. In fact, it's one of the big heat wave years of Western Europe. So 2003 was an exceptionally hot year across the board, across a lot of Europe, and you'll find that temperatures are significantly different. So are sunlight hours, and so was rainfall being a little lower. And you can see that in that table. So 2006 August average temperature is around 20 degrees Celsius. That's a little bit below average for the region. 2003 is 26 degrees Celsius. Now, this is quite extreme. Normally, differences of weather are only about 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, but this is a big change from one year to another, 2003 versus 2006. So 26 degrees Celsius, and some of the hottest days in 2003 in August were 33 degrees Celsius, and quite repetitively as well. So that's what really brought the temperature up as an average. And then you'll see the rainfall in August. Now, those numbers, some of you might look at those and go, well, they're still quite significant numbers. You must remember that Bordeaux is a maritime climate, and that means that it is affected by rainfall all year round. So it will have some numbers, significant numbers. Normally, an August average rainfall will be somewhere between 60 and 70 millimeters. So you'll see in 2006, it was wetter, 72 millimeters. Per August, and then 41 in 2003, which is quite dry. And in fact, there was a storm in August, which rained most of that. So in fact, most of August remained exceptionally dry, and if not drought-like conditions were in place in August 2003. So quite significant difference there between the August rainfalls and the temperature, and that's a big thing. That's weather patterns. If you were to compare this to a continental zone, maybe somewhere like Ribera del Duero in central Spain, or the Meseta Plain or something like that, there's more consistency within the temperatures and the rainfall patterns. But differences here in places like maritime climates, for example. Cool. So the next thing we are going to talk about is the temperature types. So we've given you a bit of an idea of what climate is and a little bit about weather. Now we're going to talk about the temperature terms, because when we come to describe the actual climate type, which is things like continental, maritime, and Mediterranean, we prefix it with a temperature term. So we would say something like warm maritime for Bordeaux, for instance, or moderate maritime for Bordeaux, or warm maritime for other regions, or hot continental, or cool continental, or whatever it may be. So that prefix description, that temperature term, gives you an idea of the actual temperature in that year. And it gives you a good approximate guide to which the grapes can successfully ripen in any given region. So let's have a look then. We have a 4-level scale, as you can see in the top: cool, moderate, warm, and hot. So what does that mean in terms of the temperature? So first up, we have a cool temperature here. So we have cool is less than 16.5 degrees Celsius in the growth season. Now, the growth season is from April to October. That is the growth of the vine. So the average temperature, therefore, from April to October is below 16.5 degrees Celsius as an average. So that is a cool, the definition of a cool climate. So we have some examples. Well, I've given you one example here. This is the Mosel in Germany, classified as a cool continental climate. So the description of cool means that the average temperatures during the growth season are below 16.5 18.5 degrees Celsius. You could also say that Alsace in eastern France, which is in fact down here, is also cool continental. You could say Champagne, for instance, which is somewhere over here. You could say the Loire Valley. You could say Great Britain are all cool climates that are below 16.5 degrees Celsius. Now, please, this is a generalization. There will be some instances when those temperatures may push it out of the category. So there might be some moderate years in Mosel, for instance. The 2018 vintage, for instance, in the Mosel was in fact classified as warm, which is 2 steps up. So there are some changes and global warming is happening. So this may be a bit more frequent, but the average when taken over 10, 20, 30 years would still place the Mosel, for instance, as a cool climate. So that's cool climate area. Next up is moderate, and this will lie between 16.5 degrees Celsius to 18.5 degrees Celsius. So that is a range of 2 degrees Celsius, and that's classified as a moderate. An example of a moderate is Bordeaux, down in the southwest of France. So whereas the Mosel, and let me just get this for you, the Mosel was at 50 north latitude, Bordeaux is at 45 north latitude, so it's lower down as you go towards the equator. So the temperature rises due to this. The sunlight has less distance to travel to this region, so it's a bit warmer. So the temperatures therefore lie between 16.5 and 18.5. And that's important because, of course, you need those warm temperatures to ripen the black grapes, specifically like Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. So a moderate climate in Bordeaux, and the full description would be a moderate maritime climate, a moderate maritime climate. Okay, so that's moderate done. Next up, we have a warm climate, and of course, this is the next extension in terms of the range, 18.5 degrees Celsius to 21 degrees Celsius. So this is a range of 2.5 degrees Celsius, a warm climate. And your example here is down in the south of France. So Marseille, called the capital of Provence, for instance, sits at about 43 north latitude. So once again, a couple of latitudes lower than Bordeaux and a lot lower than places like Mosel and Champagne, for instance. So if you looked at Marseille, Montpellier would be close, Perpignan would be a little bit lower. And that's why this is classified as a warm climate. Okay, and the full definition of the climates of places like Provence and Languedoc and Roussillon would be warm Mediterranean. And all of these other terminologies, continental, maritime, and Mediterranean, will be covered on part 2 of this, which is available on the Wine with Jimmy e-learning portal. And then finally, we have a hot climate, and this is in excess of 21 degrees Celsius. There are many parts of the New World that have this, parts of Southeast Australia, parts of South Africa, parts of California, parts of Chile, parts of Argentina, that will have an excess average over 21 degrees Celsius during their growth season. The example we're going to give you, though, is we're going to stick to the Old World. And we have down in the south of Spain, we have Jerez de la Frontera, which is known for sherry. So this is south of Sevilla, and this is at around 37 degree north latitude. So we're now many latitudes below that of southern France and Bordeaux. Of course, this is the southern tip of Spain, which is close to the northern tip of North Africa, and this of course is around the Mediterranean. So we call this a hot Mediterranean climate. Exceptional amounts of heat here and lots of sunlight as well. So that is Jerez de la Frontera as a hot example. Okay, so that's a hot Mediterranean to give it a full definition as well. So that brings this video to a close. I hope you found this useful. If you have enjoyed this video, we have lots more free content available on this YouTube channel. but there's even more available on the e-learning portal, which is available at winewithjimmy.com. That's available only to members, so you have to go and sign up, and you'll get access to those fantastic amount of videos. There's lots available, plus all the added extras, flashcards, revision sessions, short written answer questions, multiple choice, and so on and so on. So thank you very much. I've been Jimmy Smith. If you do have any comments, questions, or concerns, please get in touch via, once again, commenting on this video on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe as well. But also you can get in touch via that website there on the slide, or by social media at the bottom of the slide. If you do find yourself in the beautiful city of London in the United Kingdom, come and see us for a class, a glass, or a bottle. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.